All right, let's dive deep into Bitcoin Red Pill. This book's got everyone talking, especially in Brazil. It's full of insights on Bitcoin and why it matters, especially now.
Yeah, and the authors, Renato and Alan, come at it from like both a financial and a techie perspective.
Right. Like you've got a legal and finance
Yeah.
expert, and then you've got this design and tech whiz.
They really do tackle it from every angle. They start with the basics, like, okay, what is Bitcoin? Who made it and when? But they don't avoid those big questions, like, is this thing a pyramid scheme? Or is it even legal?
Okay, so let's get into it. They address those concerns right off the bat.
Oh, yeah, head on. They debunk the pyramid scheme myth and explain that Bitcoin itself is perfectly legal, but like any technology, it can be used for bad stuff too. So that's why knowledge comes in.
Exactly, yeah. So once they've laid that groundwork, where do they go next?
Well, this is where it gets really interesting. They take us on this historical journey through, the evolution of money. They compare Bitcoin to gold and the currencies we use every day, like the Brazilian real.
Okay, so why is that historical context important for understanding Bitcoin?
Well, think about it. For a long time, gold was the go-to store of value, because it was scarce and it lasted. Then we got government-backed currencies, which were kind of tied to gold at first, but then eventually became what we call fiat currency. Basically, it's backed by the government's word, their promise.
And the Brazilian real has, it's had its moments, right?
Definitely, yeah. The book points out how the reals lost a ton of value since it was introduced. They even say that gold has been a better investment than the real over the same time.
Well, that's a big statement.
It is, and to drive that point home, they use some powerful visuals. Like, they have this graph showing the U.S. dollar's monetary base and public debt just exploding.
Yikes. So how does this all connect back to Bitcoin?
Well, they argue that Bitcoin has the best qualities of both gold and regular money. Like, it's digital, so it's easy to transfer like, normal currency. But like gold, it's limited. There's only a certain amount. So that's what makes it a good hedge against inflation, they argue.
So while governments can just print more money, and that makes the money we have worth less over time, Bitcoin is designed to be limited, right?
Exactly. That limited supply is like written into the code.
Wow.
And that's key to their argument. As more and more money gets printed, each dollar or real or whatever, it's worth less. That's inflation. But with Bitcoin, there will only ever be 21 million. So they think it can protect you against like your money losing value.
So it's like a digital gold, but you can move it around easily and you can buy and sell things with it.
Exactly. They see it as a potential lifeboat. Like if the financial system starts to sink.
Right. That makes sense. So they've laid out the history of money, the potential problems with the money we use now, and how Bitcoin could be a solution. What other big ideas do they explore?
Well, one of the most interesting things they talk about is Bitcoin as a tool for like individual freedom. They describe a future where governments have way more control, more surveillance.
Like a dystopian future.
Yeah, kinda. And in that world, they see Bitcoin as a way to fight back, to stay independent,
That's super interesting. They're connecting Bitcoin not just to money, but to freedom.
Exactly. They argue that Bitcoin could make stuff like capital controls and even taxes obsolete.
So people would have more control over their own money.
Right.
That's a pretty radical idea. But they're not just focused on the good stuff, right?
Yeah.
They talk about the risks too, yeah.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. They're upfront about the potential for scams, how Bitcoin's price can be volatile, and even the chance that governments might try to, ban it.
So not all sunshine and rainbows then.
Not exactly, but they say being aware of the risks is the first step to avoiding them.
Right. Knowledge is power and all that.
Exactly. They emphasize that understanding how Bitcoin works is key. Being careful, doing your research. They even have a whole section on 10 ways to engage with Bitcoin. It's a practical guide for getting involved.
Okay, so let's talk about those 10 ways. Give us some highlights, some real examples of how people can actually use Bitcoin.
Well, they cover a lot, like mining, which is basically using computer power to verify Bitcoin transactions. And you get rewarded for it.
So mining is how new Bitcoins are made.
Yep, exactly. But they also talk about why mining might not be a good idea for most people in Brazil because of the high energy costs.
Oh, interesting. So they're tailoring their advice to Brazil specifically. What are some other ways to get involved?
They explain hodling, which just means buying Bitcoin and holding on to it. Believing it'll be worth more later.
So hodling is for the long-term believers. What about people who want to, trade it more actively?
Oh, they cover that too. They explain how you can use charts and patterns called technical analysis to try to, predict which way the price is going.
Wow. So they're not just saying buy Bitcoin. They're giving people tools to understand how to trade it.
Exactly. And they also talk about stuff like peer-to-peer lending, using Bitcoin for payments, even getting involved in building Bitcoin apps. It's really about giving people the knowledge and tools to use Bitcoin in a way that fits their goals and how much risk they're okay with.
And they make it clear it's not about getting rich quick. They're all about being cautious and watching out for scams.
Yeah, responsible engagement is a big theme throughout the book. But beyond the practical stuff, they also explore how Bitcoin could impact society as a whole. They say it could disrupt traditional power structures by making things like capital controls and even taxes obsolete.
So if more people use Bitcoin, it could challenge how governments control the economy.
That's the idea. It could lead to a more decentralized financial system.
That's a pretty radical idea.
Yeah, totally. It challenges how we think about money and power.
But they acknowledge that this kind of disruption could have some downsides.
Yeah, they don't pretend it's all simple.
They also talk about the potential downsides of Bitcoin.
Oh, yeah, definitely. They point out that Bitcoin can be used for illegal things, like money laundering and ransomware attacks.
So it's like any powerful tool. It can be used for good or bad.
Right, and they emphasize that understanding these risks is really important.
So it sounds like they're trying to give a really balanced view of Bitcoin.
They are, and they end on this note of informed engagement, really understanding what you're getting into before you jump in.
Okay, so they've covered the benefits and risks of Bitcoin. They've explored the bigger philosophical stuff. And they've given practical advice on how to get involved. What's their overall take on the future of Bitcoin?
They present this vision of a future where Bitcoin plays a big role in the global economy. It offers people more control over their finances and could even challenge traditional financial institutions.
So like a more level playing field.
Exactly. They talk about how Bitcoin can make sending money across borders easier and cheaper, which could be huge for things like remittances and international trade.
And they also mentioned Bitcoin as a hedge against inflation, right? Which is a big concern for a lot of people, especially in Brazil.
That's a key part of their argument. They believe that Bitcoin, with its limited supply, is designed to fight inflation. It's like the opposite of inflation built in.
So while governments can print more money and make their currency worth less, Bitcoin offers an alternative.
Yeah, a way to protect your savings from losing value.
I see. That's really interesting.
And they don't just focus on the money side of it. They also talk about how Bitcoin could help innovation and entrepreneurship by lowering barriers and reducing reliance on traditional banks and stuff.
So it's not just about individual empowerment. It's about a whole new economic ecosystem.
Exactly. They imagine a world where people have more control over their money, where innovation explodes, and where economic opportunities are more evenly spread.
That's a pretty optimistic vision.
It is, but it's based on a deep understanding of the problems with our current financial system.
And they're not naive about the challenges, are they?
No, they know there will be pushback from people who benefit from the way things are now.
Yeah.
And they expect governments might try to regulate or even stop Bitcoin.
So it's not a guaranteed utopia, but it's a potential path towards a better financial future.
Exactly. More decentralized, resilient, and equitable.
And they make it clear that this future won't just happen on its own. It needs people to actively participate, learn, and engage.
Right. It's a call to action for anyone who's unhappy with the current system, who wants to take control and create a better future.
That's a message that goes beyond just finance.
Totally. It's about individual empowerment, innovation, and a fairer distribution of power.
And opportunity.
Yeah, it's a message that resonates across borders, political views, and economic backgrounds.
It connects with anyone who believes in the power of technology to make positive change.
And for Brazilian listeners, the book has a particularly relevant perspective on how Bitcoin can help navigate the specific challenges and opportunities in Brazil.
It's a reminder that this technology isn't just some abstract concept. It has real-world impact, and it can change lives in a very tangible way.
And one of the things the book does really well is demystify Bitcoin. It makes it understandable, even for people who aren't tech experts.
It's about empowering people with knowledge, giving them the tools to make informed decisions about their financial future.
Exactly, and that's why they go into so much detail about the different ways to engage with Bitcoin.
Right. We touched on that earlier, but let's go back to those 10 ways. We talked about mining, hodling, and even using technical analysis to trade. What are some of the other options they present?
Well, they get into peer-to-peer lending, where you can use Bitcoin to lend money directly to others. You cut out the middleman and could earn higher returns.
So it's like a decentralized banking system.
Precisely. They also talk about using Bitcoin for payments. It has the potential to lower transaction fees and speed up payments, especially for international transactions.
That's a big deal, especially for businesses operating globally.
Absolutely. And they even talk about getting involved in developing Bitcoin applications, contributing to the growth of the ecosystem and creating new solutions.
So there are opportunities not just for investors and users,
Yeah.
but also for developers and entrepreneurs who want to build on this technology.
Exactly. They really highlight the diverse ways people can participate in the Bitcoin revolution. Whether you're looking to protect your savings, invest, build a business, or just be a part of something groundbreaking.
It's exciting, right? So
Yeah.
much potential.
It is, and it's all about making informed choices and being responsible.
And I love how they connect it back to Brazil specifically. It makes it feel very relevant to our listeners.
Yeah, they do a great job of grounding these big ideas in a local context.
Okay, so much to think about. We've covered a lot of ground here. What's the final message they leave readers with?
They end with a call to action. They want readers to get involved with this technology, not just stand on the sidelines, but help shape the future of finance.
Powerful stuff.
It is. They believe Bitcoin can be a force for good, empower individuals, encourage innovation, and create a more equitable world. But they know it won't be easy. It'll take effort, education, and a willingness to challenge the status quo.
It's a message that resonates with anyone who believes in the power of technology to make positive change.
And for Brazilian listeners, the book offers a really timely perspective on how Bitcoin can help navigate the challenges and opportunities Brazil faces today.
It's a book that encourages us to think critically about the future of money and the role of technology in shaping that future.
And it empowers us to take control of our financial destiny and be a part of something truly transformative.
All right, so we've explored the history of money, the potential problems with fiat currencies, and how Bitcoin might be a solution. We've discussed the benefits and risks, the philosophical implications, and the practical ways to get involved with this revolutionary technology. But Bitcoin RedPill leaves us with a question that wasn't directly addressed. How might the adoption of Bitcoin impact social programs and safety nets, particularly in a country like Brazil? It's something to ponder as we navigate this uncharted territory.
That's a great question, and it highlights how Bitcoin could change so many aspects of our lives.
Definitely something to think about. We'll be back next time to continue our deep dive into Bitcoin RedPill. Join us then for more insights and discussions.
It's a really thought-provoking question, yeah. It
Yeah.
kind of highlights how Bitcoin's adoption could change so many parts of our lives.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like if Bitcoin really shakes up those traditional financial systems, the way the authors describe it, it could impact how we fund social programs, right?
It's exactly. It's a tough issue, no easy answers. But it's a conversation we need to have, as we move forward.
And it reminds us that technology doesn't exist in isolation, right? It interacts
Yeah.
with everything, our social systems, politics, economics, and those interactions, they can be good and bad.
Absolutely. Bitcoin RedPill doesn't shy away from that complexity. It challenges us to think critically about how this technology might affect us, our lives, our communities, the whole world.
It's not about just blindly saying Bitcoin will fix everything, but about engaging with it thoughtfully, the potential and the challenges.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that the future isn't set in stone. We create it through the choices we make, our actions, our willingness to embrace new ideas, to explore.
So for our listeners, especially those in Brazil who are dealing with economic uncertainty and all this new tech, what are the key takeaways from Bitcoin RedPill? What do they need to know?
I'd say the book's message is about empowerment. It encourages us to take control of our financial future, to learn about Bitcoin, the good and the bad, and to actively shape the future of money.
It's about moving past the fear, the uncertainty,
Yeah.
and embracing the potential of Bitcoin to create a fairer, more decentralized world.
Exactly. And for Brazilians, the book highlights how Bitcoin can help with the specific challenges and opportunities they face.
It reminds us that we don't have to just watch as technology changes things. We can be a part of it, shaping the future to benefit us, our communities, the world.
Bitcoin RedPill doesn't have all the answers, but it asks the right questions. It provides a way to understand this complex and constantly changing world of Bitcoin.
And that's what we love about these deep dives, exploring ideas, challenging what we think we know, and empowering our listeners to be informed, engaged citizens.
So whether you're a Bitcoin expert or just starting out, I'd encourage you to check out Bitcoin RedPill and see where it takes you. You might be surprised.
The future is out there, waiting to be shaped. And we all have a part to play. Stay curious, stay informed, and stay engaged.
Yeah, it's a super interesting question. It makes you think about how Bitcoin could affect so many different parts of our lives.
Yeah, for sure. Like, imagine if Bitcoin really does disrupt those traditional financial systems. Could totally change how we think about things like social programs.
Right, exactly. It's like big question mark. Nobody really knows for sure, but it's definitely something we got to be talking about, as things keep moving.
Yeah, it's a good reminder that technology doesn't exist in a bubble, right? It affects and is affected by everything else, like social systems, politics, the whole economy. And those interactions, well, they can have both good and bad consequences.
For sure. Bitcoin Red Pill doesn't pretend it's all sunshine and roses. They really want you to think critically about the potential impact, the good and the bad. For us, for our communities, for everyone.
It's about looking at it with open eyes, right? Not just assuming Bitcoin's going to solve everything, but engaging with it thoughtfully, understanding both the potential and the risks.
Yeah, exactly. It's about realizing that the future isn't like already written. We create it through the choices we make, what we do, and how willing we are to embrace new ideas and explore.
So, for all our listeners out there, especially in Brazil, with all the economic uncertainty and the constant changes in technology, what would you say are the key takeaways from Bitcoin Red Pill? What do they really need to know?
The big message is empowerment, I think. It's about taking control of your financial future, educating yourself about Bitcoin, both the good and the bad, and actively shaping the future of money.
It's about moving past that fear, that feeling of, I don't know what's going on, and realizing that Bitcoin has the potential to create a world that's fairer, more decentralized.
Exactly. And they really highlight how Bitcoin can be a tool for Brazilians, specifically to help navigate the challenges and opportunities that are unique to Brazil.
It's a reminder that we don't have to just sit back and watch technology change the world around us.
Hmm.
You can be a part of it, actively shaping it to benefit us, our communities, everyone.
Bitcoin Red Pill doesn't try to give you all the answers, but it asks the important questions.
Yeah.
And it gives you a framework for understanding this whole Bitcoin world, which is super complex and always changing.
That's what's so cool about these deep dives, right? Exploring new ideas, questioning what we think we know, and helping our listeners be informed and engaged, ready to participate.
Totally. So, whether you're a Bitcoin expert or just starting to learn about it, I definitely recommend checking out Bitcoin Red Pill. See what you think. You might be surprised.
The future's out there, ready to be made, and we all have a role in shaping it. Stay curious, stay informed, and stay engaged. Thanks for joining us for another deep dive.